Picture this: the last golden rays of sunlight spill across the desert, painting the pyramids of Giza in fiery hues. These towering monuments have stood for thousands of years, silent witnesses to the rise and fall of civilizations. But here's the unsettling truth. Despite all our modern technology and centuries of study, these ancient structures still guard secrets that defy explanation. How much do we really know about them? The answer might shock you. Think about it: these aren't just piles of stone. They're precision-engineered marvels, built with techniques we still can't fully replicate today. The Great Pyramid alone weighs 6 million tons, yet its corners align almost perfectly with the cardinal directions. How did a civilization without modern tools achieve such accuracy? And why? These questions are just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface lie riddles that have stumped historians, archaeologists, and engineers for generations: hidden chambers, unexplained hieroglyphs, and bizarre artifacts that don't fit any known narrative. That's exactly what we're diving into today. This isn't just a history lesson, it's a journey into the unknown. We're unraveling 25 of the most baffling mysteries surrounding Egypt's pyramids, questions that still spark debates, fuel wild theories, and keep experts awake at night. From the purpose of hidden shafts to the eerie absence of builders' records, each clue pulls us deeper into the enigma. So if you've ever stared at these ancient wonders and wondered what they're hiding, stick around. By the end of this, you'll see the pyramids in a whole new light. Let's start with the most glaring mystery of all. How did the ancient Egyptians construct the pyramids with such jaw-dropping precision? The Great Pyramid's base is level 2 within just 2 centimeters. That's a margin of error smaller than your fingertip. Even more astonishing, its sides align almost perfectly with the 4 cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west, deviating by less than a fraction of a degree. To put that in perspective, modern architects using laser-guided tools would struggle to match that accuracy today. So how did they do it? That's where the theories and controversies begin. The most widely accepted idea involves ramps. Experts suggest workers dragged massive stone blocks up sloping earthen ramps, dismantling them as the pyramid rose. But here's the catch. A straight ramp tall enough for the Great Pyramid would have required more material than the pyramid itself. That's led to alternatives like zigzagging ramps or even an internal spiral ramp hidden within the structure. Yet none of these fully explain how workers hoisted 2.5-ton blocks with such exact positioning. Then there's the celestial connection. The pyramid's layout mirrors the stars in Orion's belt, and their shafts align with key constellations. Some researchers believe the Egyptians used advanced astronomy to guide construction, tracking the heavens with tools we haven't discovered or maybe even understood. Others go further, suggesting lost technologies or forgotten methods, pointing to the eerie absence of chisels or heavy machinery in the archaeological record. Why haven't we found the tools capable of such precision? Perhaps the most haunting question isn't just how they built them, but why this level of perfection was necessary. Was it purely for grandeur, or did these alignments serve a deeper, unknown purpose? Every unanswered detail pulls us deeper into the labyrinth of Egypt's greatest enigma. The identity of the pyramid builders has fueled debate for centuries. Were they slaves driven by whips or skilled laborers who took pride in their work? For generations, popular culture painted them as shackled workers under brutal conditions, but modern archaeology tells a radically different story. Recent excavations near Giza have uncovered something extraordinary: well-preserved workers' graves nestled close to the pyramids in positions of respect. These weren't the burials of slaves, but of honored individuals, some even buried with beer and bread for the afterlife. Nearby, the remnants of an entire workers' settlement revealed bakeries producing thousands of loaves daily, massive fish processing sites, and even medical facilities treating injuries with surprising sophistication. So just how massive was this workforce? Estimates suggest up to 20,000 laborers rotated in shifts, not as a horde of nameless slaves, but as organized crews with telling names like Friends of Khufu or Drunkards of Menkaura carved into stones. They weren't dragged from foreign lands. They were likely Egyptian farmers who worked on the pyramids during the Nile's annual flood, when fields were underwater and labor was available. The logistics are mind-boggling. Feeding this army required herds of cattle driven in from the delta, granaries stocked with grain, and a supply network spanning the entire kingdom. But the biggest twist, some workers received wages in the form of bread, beer, and even tax exemptions. Records show they took days off for injuries or festivals. Hieroglyphs mention merit raises for skilled teams, and forensic studies of skeletons reveal surprisingly robust health, with signs of healed fractures carefully treated. This wasn't the work of a broken underclass, but of a society marshalling its collective skill for a national project. The real mystery isn't whether they were forced, it's how they achieved such unity of purpose. Was it religious fervor, civic duty, or something else entirely? The answer might rewrite everything we thought we knew about power and collaboration in the ancient world. Deep within the Great Pyramid's crushing weight of stone, modern technology has revealed void spaces untouched for thousands of years. In 2017, scientists using muon tomography, a technique that scans structures with cosmic rays, detected two puzzling cavities, one above the Grand Gallery and another near the north face. These aren't cracks or gaps caused by time. They're deliberate, architecturally significant spaces, and no one knows what's inside. The larger void, spanning nearly 100 feet, sits like a hidden echo of the Grand Gallery itself. Could it be a second, undiscovered passageway, a sealed chamber holding the untouched burial goods of a pharaoh, or something far more unexpected? The possibilities ignite the imagination. Some researchers whisper of ritual spaces, rooms designed for ceremonies so sacred they were meant to stay hidden forever. Others speculate about repositories, perhaps containing scrolls or artifacts meant to preserve knowledge for eternity. What stops us from simply opening them? The answer lies in the pyramid's fragile majesty. Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities has strictly limited invasive exploration, prioritizing preservation over curiosity. Drilling or tunneling risks damaging irreplaceable stonework or even collapsing hidden passages. Even non-invasive techniques like muon imaging have limits. They reveal shadows, not details. Without physical access, these voids remain tantalizing blanks on the pyramid's blueprint. And then there's the Khufu Kartouch. In 2021, a team using endoscopic cameras found hieroglyphs behind a chevron-shaped block in the north face, a name that might link this void to the pharaoh himself. But was it a burial chamber, a construction marker, or a decoy to distract from something deeper? Until we can peer inside without harming history's greatest puzzle, the truth stays locked away, leaving us to wonder what secrets these silent chambers still guard. Moving those colossal stones wasn't just a feat of strength, it was a masterpiece of logistics. Take the Great Pyramid's 2 million blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons. How did they travel hundreds of miles without wheels or iron tools? The answers lie in a mix of ingenious engineering and a landscape transformed by human hands. One breakthrough came in 2014, when a weathered papyrus surfaced the diary of Murrah, an overseer who documented limestone's journey from Tura to Giza. His team floated the stones on wooden barges down the Nile during flood season, using a network of canals dug straight to the pyramid's base. But here's the catch: limestone is lightweight compared to the granite monoliths hauled from Aswan. Those blocks, some weighing as much as a space shuttle, had to traverse 500 miles of desert and river without cracking. Experiments reveal the likely secret sledges gliding over artificially wetted sand. Physics confirms it. Dampening sand reduces friction by half, letting teams drag massive loads with surprising ease. Wall paintings even depict workers pouring water before sled runners. Yet granite posed another puzzle. How did they lift these multi-ton stones onto barges without cranes? Archaeologists point to submerged ramps and counterweight systems, where teams may have floated blocks onto boats at high tide, using the river itself as a hydraulic lift. Then there's the mystery of the unfinished obelisk in Aswan, a 1,000-ton behemoth abandoned mid-carving. Its sheer size hints at ambitions beyond what we've found in Giza. Did the Egyptians master techniques we've yet to uncover, or were some stones moved by methods so labor-intensive their traces vanished with time? Every theory leaves gaps, whispering of knowledge lost beneath the sands. One of the most mesmerizing connections between the pyramids and the cosmos lies in their eerie alignment with Orion's belt. The theory, first proposed by researcher Robert Bovell, suggests the three main pyramids of Giza mirror the three stars of Orion's belt, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintoka, with uncanny precision. But here's where it gets even stranger. When you overlay the positions of the pyramids onto the stars as they would have appeared in the sky around 2500 BC, the match isn't just close, it's nearly exact. The Nile River even mirrors the Milky Way in this celestial map, tying the entire landscape to the heavens above. Was this intentional? Bovell's Orion correlation theory argues it's no accident. The ancient Egyptians revered Orion, associating it with Osiris, the god of rebirth and the afterlife. Aligning the pyramids with these stars could have been a way to physically tether the pharaoh's soul to the divine, ensuring their journey to the afterlife. Hieroglyphs and texts like the pyramid text repeatedly mention celestial connections, with pharaohs described as climbing a ladder to the stars or even transforming into one. The pyramids, then, might have been more than tombs. They could have been cosmic launching pads for the soul. But skeptics aren't convinced. Some astronomers point out that while the alignment is striking, the stars' positions shift over millennia due to Earth's wobble, meaning the match would have been less perfect when the pyramids were actually built. Others argue that with hundreds of stars in the night sky, finding some pattern isn't statistically improbable, like seeing faces in clouds. Advanced software recreations of ancient skies show mixed results. While the general alignment fits, the precision isn't as flawless as enthusiasts claim. Yet there's another layer. The air shafts inside the Great Pyramid point directly to key stars like Sirius and Orion at specific dates that coincide with religious festivals. Could these have been sightlines for priests to observe celestial events, or even symbolic pathways for the pharaoh's spirit? The debate rages on, but one thing's certain. Whether by design or cosmic coincidence, the pyramid's connection to the stars adds another layer of mystery to these ancient wonders. The heavens, it seems, were always part of the blueprint. Hidden deep within the Great Pyramid's labyrinth of chambers, 4 narrow shafts, each no wider than a dinner plate, cut through the ancient stone at precise angles. For decades, archaeologists assumed these were simple ventilation shafts, built to let air circulate during construction. But if that were true, why do they align so perfectly with celestial bodies visible in ancient Egypt's night sky? The southern shafts in both the king's and queen's chambers point directly to Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, and linked to the goddess Isis, and Alnitak, the primary star in Orion's belt. Meanwhile, the northern shafts target Thuban, the pole star of the pharaoh's era, and Kochab, part of the Little Dipper. These aren't random alignments. Sirius, in particular, held immense significance. Its annual rising heralded the Nile's life-giving flood, an event so critical it marked the Egyptian New Year. Could these shafts have been celestial guideposts designed to channel the energy or attention of the gods? In 1993, a tiny robot called Upuaut-2 crawled into one of the Queen's chamber shafts, only to hit a limestone door with corroded copper handles. What lay behind it? The mystery festered for years until 2011, when the Jedi project, named after the magician who served Pharaoh Khufu, sent a more advanced robot equipped with a flexible camera. It snaked through the shaft, drilling a minuscule hole in the door. and revealed a small chamber with hieroglyphs painted in red ochre and another sealed door beyond. The symbols still debated today include a possible numeral or ritual marking, but here's the twist: similar shafts exist in other pyramids, yet none align with stars. So why the discrepancy? Some scholars argue the Great Pyramid shafts were uniquely sacred, perhaps designed to guide the pharaoh's soul to the heavens. Others propose they served as astronomical sightlines, helping priests track stars for rituals or calendar events. And then there's the wildcard theory that the shafts funneled sound or energy, acting as resonance chambers for ceremonies lost to time. With robotic technology advancing, future explorations might finally crack these mysteries open. But for now, those narrow passages remain silent, their secrets locked behind millennia of dust and unanswered questions. What waits behind the second door, only the pyramid knows, and it isn't talking yet. What if everything we've been taught about the pyramid's age is wrong? Mainstream archaeology pins the Great Pyramid's construction to around 2500 BC during Pharaoh Khufu's reign. But a radical theory, first championed by researcher John Anthony West, suggests these monuments might be far older, dating back to a time when the Sahara was lush and green, possibly as early as 10,000 BC. The key to this staggering claim, the Sphinx's weathered flanks. West noticed something odd. While the Sphinx sits within a limestone quarry, its body shows deep, undulating erosion patterns, vertical grooves that look less like wind or sand damage and more like the effects of water. Specifically, heavy rainfall over millennia. Here's the problem: Egypt's climate has been arid for at least 5,000 years. The last period of significant rainfall ended around 3500 BC. So if the Sphinx was carved during Khufu's era, why does it bear erosion marks that match a much wetter epoch? Geologist Robert Schoch, who analyzed the Sphinx's weathering, concluded the damage couldn't have occurred in just 4,000 or 5,000 years. The erosion lines, he argued, required thousands of additional years of exposure to rainwater runoff, pushing the Sphinx's origins back to a time when the Nile Valley resembled a savanna. If true, this would mean the Sphinx and possibly the pyramids nearby were built by a forgotten civilization predating dynastic Egypt by millennia. Mainstream Egyptologists fiercely contest this. They point to nearby Old Kingdom tombs showing identical weathering, suggesting local environmental factors, not age, caused the erosion. Others argue the Sphinx's head, clearly pharaonic in style, couldn't belong to a 10,000-year-old statue without showing stylistic anachronisms. And then there's the carbon dating conundrum. Organic material found in pyramid mortar dates squarely to Khufu's reign. But West's team counters that later rulers might have simply restored far older structures, leaving traces of their own era behind. The debate hinges on a tantalizing question. Could the pyramids be the last surviving remnants of a lost pre-pharaonic culture? Ancient texts like the Inventory Stela mention Khufu discovering the Great Sphinx, already ancient in his time. And the pyramid texts themselves speak of a mythical first time. When gods ruled Egypt, could this be a garbled memory of an advanced precursor civilization? Until someone uncovers a smoking gun, a tool, inscription, or dating method that definitively resolves the timeline, the age of the pyramids remains a battleground between orthodox science and revisionist history. One thing's certain: if West and Schoch are even partially right, humanity's story is far more mysterious than we've been led to believe. Beneath the Sphinx's massive pores, modern technology has detected anomalies that could rewrite history. Ground-penetrating radar scans have revealed what appear to be hollow spaces, rectangular chambers hidden deep beneath the statue's monolithic bulk. The most tantalizing of these is the so-called Hall of Records, a legendary vault said to contain the lost knowledge of a pre-pharaonic civilization. Edgar Cayce, the famous psychic, even predicted its discovery in the 20th century, claiming it held Atlantean secrets. But is there any truth to the myths, or is this just another archaeological dead end? Egypt's former Minister of Antiquities, Zahi Hawass, has long dismissed these claims, calling them fantasies with no basis in hard evidence. He points to earlier excavations in the 1980s and 90s when teams drilled beneath the Sphinx and found only natural fissures in the bedrock. Yet the radar data tells a different story. Independent surveys, including one by a team from Florida State University, identified man-made cavities, some large enough to walk through, aligned with precision that suggests intentional design. Why the discrepancy? Skeptics argue radar signals can be misinterpreted, bouncing off dense rock layers in ways that mimic artificial chambers. But believers counter that no one has ever been allowed to properly excavate these sites, leaving the question frustratingly unresolved. The real mystery isn't just what's down there, it's why access remains blocked. Officially, the concern is preservation. Digging could destabilize the Sphinx's already fragile foundation. But conspiracy theorists whisper about government cover-ups, suggesting authorities fear what might be uncovered. Could it be texts that challenge Egypt's established timeline? Artifacts from an unknown culture, the irony is thick. The Sphinx, a symbol of riddles, now guards its own most closely. For now, the chambers remain sealed, their secrets intact. But with each passing year, new technologies emerge that could peer deeper without disturbing the ancient stone. Until then, the Hall of Records exists in limbo between myth and potential reality, its truth buried just out of reach. Climbing deep into the Great Pyramid's inner chambers, you'd expect to find walls blackened by torch smoke. After all, how else could workers see to carve and position millions of stone blocks in total darkness? Yet when archaeologists first entered these passages in modern times, they made a startling discovery. The walls were pristine. No soot residues, no charcoal stains, no evidence of flames at all. This absence defies logic. If torches or oil lamps weren't used, what illuminated the labyrinth during construction? The answer might lie in a blend of forgotten ingenuity and controversial artifacts. One theory points to the Baghdad Battery, a clay jar unearthed in Iraq in 1936, dating back 2,000 years, containing a copper cylinder and iron rod that could produce a weak electric current when filled with acidic liquid like vinegar. While most scholars dismiss it as a storage vessel, experiments replicating the design have powered small LED lights. Could the Egyptians have developed similar technology? Ancient texts describe shining pillars in temples and the Dendera light relief. A carving in a nearby temple shows what some interpret as giant bulbs powered by cables. Mainstream Egyptologists argue these are symbolic depictions of lotus flowers or solar barges, but the mystery of the soot-free walls keeps the electric light theory alive. Then there's the mirror hypothesis. Greek historian Herodotus claimed the pyramid's builders used polished metal reflectors to channel sunlight deep inside. Modern tests show copper mirrors could bounce light through corridors, but with limitations, angles would need constant adjustment as the sun moved, and cloudy days would halt work. A team from MIT attempted this in 2019, using replicas to light a scale model pyramid. They succeeded, but noted the system would fail beyond a few reflective bounces, leaving deep chambers in shadow. Perhaps the simplest answer is the most overlooked: bioluminescence. Ancient Egyptian texts mention cool lamps, made from jars filled with glowing chemicals derived from crushed beetles or fermented fish oil, a technique still used by some indigenous cultures today. Experiments with these substances reveal they emit enough light for close-up work without smoke or heat. Combine this with strategically placed white limestone dust to amplify reflections, and you have a plausible, low-tech solution. The truth may never be fully known, but one thing's clear: the pyramid builders mastered more than just stone. They manipulated light itself, leaving behind clues that continue to flicker at the edge of our understanding. Step inside the Great Pyramid's inner chambers, and you'll find something almost eerie: walls of polished limestone, smooth and silent. utterly devoid of the hieroglyphs that cover later pyramids like the Tomb of Unas or the Pyramid of Teti. This absence is deafening. Why would the Egyptians, a culture obsessed with the written word, leave their grandest monument blank? The silence of these stones has sparked theories ranging from the pragmatic to the fantastical, each more intriguing than the last. One camp argues that the pyramid's purpose was fundamentally different from later tombs. While pharaohs like Unas lined their burial chambers with pyramid texts, spells to guide the soul through the afterlife, Khufu's monument might have served a more enigmatic function. Some researchers, like engineer Christopher Dunn, propose the Great Pyramid wasn't just a tomb but a machine, harnessing Earth's energy or cosmic forces. In this view, inscriptions would have disrupted its precision geometry. The pyramid's resonating chambers, precise alignments, and even the mysterious properties of its materials, like the piezoelectric quartz in its granite, hint at a design that transcended mere symbolism. Could the blank walls be a feature, not an oversight? Then there's the looting theory. Ancient texts describe the opening of the mouth ceremonies, where priests activated a tomb's magic by inscribing its walls. If robbers breached the pyramid early, perhaps even during political chaos, they might have stripped not just gold but sacred texts. The stripped-down appearance of the king's chamber, with its cracked sarcophagus and absent artifacts, lends weight to this idea. Yet skeptics counter that hieroglyphs carved into stone would have been nearly impossible to erase completely. Why no chisel marks or residual pigment? Perhaps the simplest explanation is the most unsettling. The pyramid was never finished. Khufu reigned for 23 years, an ambitious timeline, but was it enough? Construction might have rushed to complete structural essentials, leaving decorative elements for later. Supporting this, the subterranean chamber lies rough-hewn, as if abandoned mid-work. Even the fabled air shafts in the queen's chamber end abruptly, sealed by crude stone blocks. Was Khufu's death the cutoff point, leaving artisans no time to adorn his eternal home? The truth might lie in a blend of these ideas. The pyramid's earliest layers could have been plastered and painted, a practice seen in other monuments, with weather or human hands erasing them millennia ago. Or perhaps the answer is cultural. Early dynasties saw writing as so sacred, it was reserved for hidden spaces, while later rulers flaunted texts as displays of power. The silence of the Great Pyramid's walls isn't just a missing detail, it's a gaping hole in our understanding of Egypt's most iconic structure. Every blank stone whispers the same question: what don't we know? At the very peak of the Great Pyramid, where the massive structure once met the sky, there's something conspicuously absent: the pyramidion, a gleaming capstone that crowned the monument in its original glory. This missing piece wasn't just decorative, it held profound spiritual significance. Ancient texts describe pyramidions as sacred conduits, often plated in gold or electrum to reflect the sun's rays, symbolizing the pharaoh's connection to the gods. So what happened to it? Theories range from ancient theft to divine intervention, and the answer might rewrite how we see the pyramid's final, most enigmatic layer. One persistent legend claims the capstone was removed intentionally, either by priests protecting its sacred power or by invaders seeking to dismantle the pyramid's spiritual authority. Medieval Arab historians like al-Makrizi wrote of a golden summit that vanished during periods of upheaval, possibly melted down for its precious metals. Others suggest it was never there to begin with, arguing the pyramid's apex was left unfinished due to Khufu's sudden death. But recent discoveries muddy the waters. In 2012, archaeologists unearthed a nearby pyramidion belonging to Pharaoh Amenemhat III, intact and inscribed with hieroglyphs. Its existence proves these capstones weren't mythical, raising the question: if others survived, why not the Great Pyramids? Modern attempts to recreate the pyramidion reveal just how advanced its design might have been. Engineers using ancient techniques found that fitting a capstone onto the pyramid's apex required near-perfect alignment, a task so precise even modern lasers struggle to match it. Some reconstructions suggest it wasn't just a solid block but a hollow, resonant chamber designed to amplify sound or even focus sunlight during ceremonies. Experiments with gold-plated replicas show how it could have transformed the pyramid into a blinding beacon, visible for miles when the sun struck its surface. Then there's the celestial angle. The pyramidion slope matched the structure's sides at exactly 52 degrees, an angle mirrored in the shafts inside the pyramid. This alignment wasn't arbitrary, it's the same angle at which light refracts through quartz, a mineral found in the pyramid's granite. Could the capstone have acted as a lens, channeling sunlight into the chambers below for rituals? Or was its removal part of a larger ritual, a symbolic closing of the pyramid's power? The silence of the stones offers no easy answers, but one thing's clear. Without its crowning piece, the pyramid remains incomplete, a riddle wrapped in gold lost to time. Satellite images of the Egyptian desert have revealed eerie geometric shapes buried beneath the sand structures so large and symmetrical, they defy natural explanation. Near Tanis and Dosha, faint outlines of what appear to be pyramid bases emerge from the landscape when viewed from above, their edges too precise to be random formations. Could these be the lost monuments Herodotus wrote about? The Greek historian claimed there were 300 pyramids in Egypt, a staggering number compared to the 118 officially recognized today. Where are the missing 182? The answer might lie beneath centuries of shifting dunes waiting for technology or a lucky sandstorm to expose them. The key to this mystery lies in modern tools like infrared scanning and ground-penetrating radar. In 2008, a team analyzing satellite photos spotted what looked like two pyramid complexes near Abu Sidham, their outlines visible only in thermal imaging. When archaeologists dug, they unearthed shafts and tunnels, but no definitive proof. Similar anomalies dot the desert near the Fayum oasis, where radar pulses have detected massive, buried blocks arranged in deliberate patterns. These aren't just isolated cases. In 2015, a survey near the Bent Pyramid at Dosha revealed an underground structure matching the footprint of a small pyramid, its entrance sealed by collapsed rubble. Was it a failed construction, a hidden annex, or evidence of a much older site reclaimed by the desert? Herodotus isn't the only ancient source hinting at forgotten pyramids. The Turin Papyrus, a 3,000-year-old administrative document, lists royal tombs and monuments no modern explorer has ever found. Even more compelling, early Arab chroniclers like al-Bakri described red pyramids south of Giza, their surfaces coated in iron-rich stone that's never been located. Could these be the same structures satellite images now tease at? The challenge is excavation. Unearthing a pyramid buried under 30 feet of sand requires staggering resources, and Egypt's Antiquities Ministry prioritizes known sites over speculative digs. But here's the twist: some lost pyramids might not be lost at all. Researchers like Dr. Sarah Parkak, a pioneer in space archaeology, suggest many could have been dismantled over millennia. The pyramids weren't just tombs, they were quarries. Medieval Cairo was built with limestone stripped from Giza's smaller pyramids, their cores carted away block by block. What we see as mysterious absences might just be the ghosts of monuments repurposed into mosques and palaces. Yet hope lingers. In 2021, radar scans near Saqqara detected a previously unknown corridor beneath the Step Pyramid complex, proof that even heavily studied sites still hide secrets. If undiscovered pyramids exist, they're likely buried in the Western Desert's vast expanse, where drifting sands could have swallowed them whole. Until then, the desert keeps its secrets, leaving us to wonder how much of Egypt's past remains hidden just out of view. Imagine standing at the base of the Great Pyramid, running your hand across its massive limestone blocks. Your palm glides over a surface so flat, it feels almost unnatural because it is. The pyramid's foundation is level to within just 2 centimeters across its entire 13-acre base. That's like laying a football field where no point is higher than the width of your thumb. Even modern engineers using laser-guided equipment would struggle to achieve such precision. So how did an ancient civilization working with copper tools and ropes pull this off? The answer lies in a blend of simple genius and forgotten techniques that blur the line between primitive and advanced. At the heart of this mystery is the merkit, a device so unassuming it could be mistaken for a child's toy. Archaeologists have found these L-shaped instruments in temple workshops, essentially a palm-sized plumb bob dangling from a horizontal bar. When paired with a sighting tool called a bay, the merkit could measure true north by tracking stars like Polaris. But leveling an entire pyramid, that's where things get fascinating. Workers likely dug a grid of shallow trenches around the construction site, filling them with water to create a makeshift horizon. Floating reed markers in these channels would reveal even minute variations in elevation, an ancient version of today's laser levels. Chiseled grooves found along the pyramid's perimeter suggest they used these water-filled moats to guide their leveling, adjusting each block until shadows or reflections aligned perfectly. Yet skeptics argue the merkit alone couldn't account for the pyramid's flawless geometry. Experiments with replicas show these tools are accurate, but not 2 centimeters over 500 meters accurate. This has led to wilder theories, like the Egyptians possessing sonic leveling technology. Some researchers point to the Jed pillar, a symbol often depicted in temple reliefs, which resembles a modern tuning fork. Could vibrations have been used to detect minute unevenness? There's no direct evidence, but intriguingly, when you strike certain pyramid stones, they emit pure musical tones, a property that might have been exploited during construction. Then there's the human factor. The pyramid builders likely employed thousands of workers as living levels. By having teams stand at intervals holding identical rods, then signaling when their sightlines matched, they could have created a massive, coordinated leveling system. Wall paintings show similar techniques used for irrigating fields, proving the Egyptians thought in terms of collective precision, the real revelation. This wasn't magic, it was meticulous, systematic labor. Each block's base was polished flat before placement, with workers using abrasive sand and copper chisels to eliminate imperfections. The final test was simple but brutal. If a palm-sized gap appeared beneath a leveling rod, the team dismantled and recut the stone. This uncompromising standard explains why so many discarded blocks litter the Giza Plateau failures that didn't make the cut. What emerges is a picture of a culture that turned patience into an art form. The pyramid's perfection wasn't about mystery technology. It was about generations of artisans refining their craft to honor the divine. In our age of instant results, that lesson might be their most enduring secret: how to achieve the extraordinary through relentless, unhurried precision. The Great Pyramid's dimensions whisper mathematical secrets that seem ripped from a modern textbook, except they were carved in stone 4,500 years ago. Take its perimeter divided by its height. The result is 660.15, a number eerily close to 2 times pi. Not convinced, the ratio between its base length and the royal cubit used by builders equals 365.24, almost exactly the days in a solar year. Coincidence stacks upon coincidence until the odds defy logic. So how could an ancient culture without calculators or decimal systems embed such precise constants into stone? The debate splits experts into 2 camps, those who see genius and those who see geology. One camp points to the pyramid slope, a 52-degree angle that creates a height-to-perimeter ratio mirroring pi. They argue this couldn't be accidental. Ancient Egyptian mathematics preserved in texts like the Orion papyrus show they understood fractions and basic geometry. But pi, the number, wasn't formally calculated until 2,000 years later by Archimedes. Yet here's the twist: the pyramid's builders might have stumbled upon pi indirectly. By rolling a drum in a straight line and marking its revolutions, they could have empirically linked circumference to diameter without knowing the theoretical constant. Similarly, the golden ratio found in the pyramid's triangular cross-section might have emerged not from advanced math, but from a simple rule of thumb. Make the height equal to the radius of a circle whose circumference matches the base. Skeptics counter that these codes vanish when you swap measurement systems. The pyramid's base isn't a clean multiple of any unit. It's 756 feet or 440 cubits depending on your ruler. And that pi correlation shifts the height by just a cubit and the ratio collapses. Even the solar year connection relies on our modern meter, a unit the Egyptians never used. The truth might lie in their obsession with harmony. Wall paintings show builders using knotted ropes to measure right angles, a technique that naturally produces ratios like 3:4:5. These sacred proportions, repeated across temples, might reflect aesthetic ideals rather than encoded knowledge. But then there's the Queen's Chamber. Its niche's dimensions form a near-perfect golden rectangle, and its floored joints align to phi, the irrational number underlying the golden ratio, too precise to dismiss. Unless, and here's the curveball, these shapes emerged from practical constraints. The pyramid's structural stability required blocks to shrink evenly as they rose, creating slopes that incidentally matched mathematical ideals. Nature does this constantly. Seashells grow in logarithmic spirals not because they know math, but because physics dictates the form. The real question isn't whether the builders understood pi or phi, it's why we're so desperate for them to have known. Perhaps we're projecting our awe onto the past, mistaking elegance for esotericism. Or maybe, just maybe, they grasped concepts we've only recently relearned. Until a scroll surfaces with Khufu's architects scribbling equations, the pyramid's numbers will keep dancing between genius and happenstance, a riddle written in stone, waiting for the right mind to crack it. Deep inside the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid, scientists have detected something utterly unexpected: radiation levels higher than natural background readings. When physicist Luis Alvarez and his team mapped the chamber's cosmic rays in the 1960s, their instruments picked up anomalies that shouldn't exist in ordinary limestone. The findings sparked debates that still rage today. Was this an accidental quirk of geology, or evidence the pyramid's architects harnessed forces we're only beginning to understand? Alvarez's experiment initially sought to uncover hidden chambers by tracking how cosmic particles pass through the pyramid's mass. Instead, the data revealed bizarre hotspots in the king's chamber, areas emitting radiation signatures unlike the surrounding stone. Later studies confirmed it. Granite blocks lining the chamber contained trace uranium and pockets of thorium, elements that decay slowly over millennia. Mainstream geologists dismiss this as unremarkable. Granite often carries such minerals, but here's the catch: the radiation isn't evenly distributed. It clusters near the sarcophagus and the so-called air shafts, as if concentrated by design. This anomaly fuels theories that border on science fiction. Engineer Christopher Dunn proposes the pyramid functioned as a power plant, its granite-lined chambers acting as resonant conduits for microwave or acoustic energy. He points to the chamber's piezoelectric properties. When certain crystals in granite undergo mechanical stress, they generate electric charges. Ancient texts describe mysterious fire rods and thunderstones in temple rituals. Could these have been crude energy converters? Even skeptics admit the coincidence is striking. The king's chamber's dimensions create a perfect acoustic resonance at 500 Hz, a frequency known to enhance piezoelectric effects. Yet nature might offer simpler explanations. The Aswan quarry, source of the chamber's granite, is laced with radioactive veins. Builders may have unknowingly selected the most luminous stones for their symbolic value. Egyptians associated shimmering rocks with divine power. Alternatively, centuries of cosmic rays funneled through the shafts could have altered the chamber's molecular structure, creating localized hotspots, the most haunting possibility. The radiation was intentional. Some researchers note that the shafts align with stars like Sirius, which emits intense gamma radiation. Could the pyramid's designers have known how to channel celestial energy? Without definitive proof, the King's Chamber remains a radioactive riddle, a place where science and speculation collide, leaving us to wonder if we're measuring ancient physics or ancient genius. For all the grandeur of Egypt's pyramids, there's one glaring inconsistency: hardly any of them ever contained an actual mummy. The Great Pyramid's so-called sarcophagus in the King's Chamber was empty when explorers first breached its walls, its lid missing and interior bare. Even more telling, no trace of funerary offerings, no fragments of a burial shroud, not so much as a single hieroglyph declaring it a tomb. If these weren't built for the dead, what were they really for? The answers proposed by rogue researchers sound like something from a sci-fi novel. Energy generators, celestial transmitters, even portals to other dimensions. Take the power plant theory. Engineer Christopher Dunn noticed something peculiar about the Great Pyramid's construction. Its granite-lined chambers and shafts aren't just architectural flourishes. Granite contains quartz crystals which vibrate under pressure, generating piezoelectricity. The pyramid's internal passages might have acted like acoustic resonators, amplifying sound waves from rituals or even Earth's natural vibrations, converting them into usable energy. Ancient texts describe mysterious fire rods and thunderstones in temple rituals, while the pyramid's subterranean chamber, with its crude pit and apparent water channels, mirrors modern hydrodynamic battery designs. Could the Egyptians have tapped into a lost form of clean energy? Mainstream archaeologists scoff, but the absence of soot or torch marks inside the pyramid suggests its builders had another way to illuminate the darkness, perhaps one we've yet to rediscover. Then there's the cosmic antenna hypothesis. The pyramid's shafts align with stars like Sirius and Orion's belt, but their angles also match microwave frequencies used in wireless transmission today. Experiments show the pyramid's shape focuses electromagnetic energy into its chambers, leading some to speculate it was a giant communication device or even a beacon for extraterrestrial contact. Ancient astronaut theorists point to the Dendera light relief, which appears to show bulb-like objects powered by cables, as possible evidence of advanced tech. While historians dismiss these as symbolic sun disks, the parallels are unsettling, but the most haunting alternative, the pyramids as initiation sites for secret rites. Greek historian Herodotus wrote of hidden chambers beneath Giza where priests conducted mysteries too terrible to name. The pyramid's narrow shafts, impossibly precise geometry, and eerie acoustic properties, sound waves inside the King's Chamber vibrate at frequencies known to induce trance states, suggest it might have been a machine for spiritual transformation. Initiates could have undergone sensory deprivation or resonance-induced visions, emerging reborn like the pharaoh's soul ascending to the stars. The truth may lie somewhere between these ideas. Perhaps the pyramids were multifunctional tombs in name, but also temples, power hubs, and cosmic mirrors. Until we decipher the builders' true intent, their silence leaves room for our boldest speculations. One thing's certain, reducing these monuments to mere graves sells one of humanity's greatest achievements tragically short. Beneath the Great Pyramid's towering majesty lies a chamber that defies easy explanation, a rough-hewn, seemingly unfinished space carved deep into the bedrock, as if the builders changed their minds mid-construction. Unlike the polished precision of the upper chambers, this subterranean room feels primal, its walls bearing the unmistakable scalloped marks of water erosion. How did flowing water leave its signature here, hundreds of feet below the desert's surface? The answer might be tied to the lifeblood of Egypt itself, the Nile's annual floods. Every year, the Nile's inundation transformed the arid landscape into fertile black soil, a cycle so vital it dictated the rhythm of Egyptian life. Some researchers believe the subterranean chamber was designed as a symbolic counterpoint to these floods, a man-made echo of the primordial waters from which creation myth says the world emerged. Ancient texts describe the underworld, or Duat, as a watery realm where the sun god Ra traveled each night, battling chaos to rise again at dawn. The chamber's location, buried like a hidden root beneath the pyramid, could represent this liminal space between life and death, where the pharaoh's soul would begin its own celestial journey. Yet there's a puzzling contradiction. The chamber's floor dips into a rectangular pit, its purpose hotly debated. Was it meant to hold offerings, a sarcophagus abandoned when plans shifted? Or something more enigmatic? Engineer Robert Bovell notes the pit aligns with the pyramid's southern shaft, which points to Sirius, the star associated with Isis, goddess of rebirth. This alignment suggests the chamber wasn't just storage. It might have been a ritual space where priests reenacted the Osiris myth, pouring water to mimic the Nile's life-giving flow, or even the cosmic waters of the Duat. Then there's the erosion. Geologists argue the chamber's walls were carved not by tools but by groundwater, proof the pyramid sits atop an ancient aquifer. Could the builders have intentionally tapped this hidden water table, channeling its energy for ceremonies? The pyramid's other mysterious features, like the so-called well shaft that descends erratically from the Grand Gallery, hint at a fascination with underground forces. Modern scans reveal hidden tunnels branching from the chamber, their ends still sealed. Are they geological fractures or deliberate passages to even deeper secrets? The chamber's unfinished state adds another layer of intrigue. Chisel marks stop abruptly, as if workers downed tools mid-task. Was this due to Khufu's death, a sudden shift in religious doctrine, or the discovery of unstable bedrock? One provocative theory suggests the chamber was never meant to be finished, that its rough form was intentional, symbolizing the chaotic waters of Nun, the formless void from which order arose. In this view, the pyramid becomes a microcosm of creation itself, with the subterranean chamber as its dark, generative heart. Perhaps the most haunting possibility is that we're misreading the space entirely. Unlike the upper chambers, this room lacks any trace of human use, no artifacts, no inscriptions, not even soot from torches. Its silence feels deliberate, as if the builders wanted its meaning to remain as fluid as the waters that once shaped its walls. Until new technology allows us to probe deeper without disturbing its ancient stillness, the chamber will keep its secrets, leaving us to wonder whether it's a forgotten blueprint, a sacred cipher, or something far stranger. Inside the pyramids, the granite sarcophagi present a puzzle that defies conventional explanations. Their surfaces bear marks that look less like chisel strikes and more like the spiraling grooves of a modern drill bit. The most famous example lies in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, a massive granite coffer with corners so precise they fit together without mortar and interior walls polished to a mirror finish. But the real shock comes when you examine the drill holes in other sarcophagi, like the one in the Serapeum at Saqqara, where the tool marks spiral inward at a consistent rate, suggesting a drill rotating at hundreds of revolutions per minute. How could a civilization without iron or steel achieve such precision? The answer might rewrite our understanding of ancient technology. Experiments with reconstructed copper tools offer clues, but also deepen the mystery. When archaeologists Denai Stocks attempted to replicate the drill marks using a copper tube and abrasive sand, he found it was possible, but only under ideal conditions with relentless grinding and constant sand replenishment. The process took weeks for a single hole, and the resulting grooves lacked the uniformity of the ancient marks. Even stranger, some sarcophagi show evidence of core drilling, where a cylindrical drill bit removed a solid plug of stone, a technique requiring immense downward pressure and stability. Modern engineers estimate it would have taken over 2 tons of force, something hand-powered tools shouldn't be capable of delivering. Then there's the enigma of the saw marks. The unfinished lid of the sarcophagus in the Pyramid of Menkora bears parallel grooves spaced identically, as if cut by a massive, oscillating blade. Researcher Chris Dunn conducted tests with a copper saw and corundum abrasive, achieving similar cuts, but noted the ancient Egyptians would have needed an industrial-scale operation to keep thousands of workers supplied with fresh abrasives. Where are the quarries for these materials? Why is there no record of such a vast enterprise? The most provocative theory involves lost technology. Some drill holes taper inward at an angle impossible to achieve with handheld tools, hinting at machinery with fixed pivot points. Peculiar artifacts like the schist disc, a fragile, razor-thin stone circle with precise grooves, look unnervingly like components from advanced equipment. Mainstream archaeology dismisses these as ritual objects, but the precision is hard to ignore. Could the Egyptians have possessed machines like lathes or rotary saws, powered by water or even some form of mechanical energy? Until we uncover a workshop or blueprint proving these methods, the sarcophagi remain monuments to a skill we've yet to fully comprehend. Whether through forgotten ingenuity or tools we've underestimated, their perfection stands as a silent challenge to our assumptions about the past. The pyramids of Egypt's later dynasties tell a startling story, not of progress but of decline. Compare the towering precision of the Great Pyramid, with its joints so tight you can't slip a credit card between stones, to the crumbling mud brick cores of later monuments like those at Abusia or Meidum. The Pyramid of Sneferu, Khufu's father, literally collapsed mid-construction, its outer casing sliding off like a shedding snake skin. So what happened? Did the Egyptians forget how to build, or did something more profound shift in their world? The answers might lie in a perfect storm of lost knowledge, political chaos, and changing beliefs. Start with the engineering crisis. The Great Pyramid's builders had mastered stress distribution, using precisely angled courses to deflect weight outward. Yet by the 5th dynasty, architects struggled with basic stability. The bent pyramid at Dosha, also built for Sneferu, bears witness to this. Its slope abruptly changes halfway up, a desperate correction to prevent collapse. Archaeologists found cracks radiating through its inner chambers, proof the builders misjudged the pressure, the likely culprit, a breakdown in apprenticeship. The Old Kingdom's golden age lasted barely a century too short to pass down nuanced techniques through generations. When master builders died without training successors, their secrets vanished with them. Yet skill wasn't the only loss. The pyramid's spiritual blueprint also eroded. Early pharaohs saw these structures as cosmic engines, their perfect geometry channeling divine power. But over time, the focus shifted from precision to speed. Texts from the Middle Kingdom reveal a startling pragmatism. Kings now demanded pyramids be finished within their lifetime, even if shortcuts meant using rubble fill instead of solid stone. The Pyramid of Amenemhat III at Hawara, though grand in scale, hides a crumbling core of loose bricks behind its limestone facade. This wasn't just laziness, it reflected a theological pivot. As Osiris worship grew, the afterlife journey became less about monumental scale and more about spells from the Book of the Dead. A pharaoh no longer needed a perfect pyramid, just the right incantations. Then there's the economic factor. Khufu's reign drained Egypt's resources, with quarries stripped bare and farmland repurposed to feed workers. Later rulers couldn't sustain such costs, especially as droughts and Nile failures destabilized the kingdom. The Pyramid of Unas, though exquisite in its hieroglyph-lined burial chamber, stands barely a third the height of Giza's giants. Its builders compensated with artistry, carving the first pyramid texts into its walls, but the message is clear: grandeur had limits. Perhaps most telling is what replaced pyramids entirely. By the New Kingdom, pharaohs abandoned them for hidden tombs in the Valley of the Kings. The reason? Security. Pyramids were beacons for looters, their very perfection making them targets. The last gasp of pyramid building, like Ahmos's mud brick monument at Abydos, lasted barely decades before collapsing. The Age of Giants was over, not because the Egyptians forgot how to build, but because the world around them and their place in it had changed irrevocably. The later pyramids aren't failures, they're fossils of a fading vision where the divine and the mortal once met in perfect stone. The idea that Hebrew slaves built the pyramids has seeped into popular culture, fueled by Hollywood epics and Sunday school lessons, but the historical record tells a radically different story. The myth traces back to the Bible's book of Exodus, where Pharaoh oppresses the Israelites with forced labor, tasking them with building store cities named Pithom and Ramses. Over time, these vague descriptions merged with the pyramids in the public imagination, even though the timelines don't align. The Great Pyramid dates to Khufu's reign around 2500 BC, while the Exodus, if it happened at all, likely occurred nearly 1,000 years later during the New Kingdom. So why does this myth persist, and what does archaeology really say about the pyramid builders? First, the evidence overwhelmingly points to a skilled Egyptian workforce. As we've seen, graves near Giza reveal laborers who ate well, received medical care, and were buried with honor, hardly the treatment of enslaved people. Papyrus payroll records from the reign of Khufu list workers receiving bread, beer, and even tax breaks, while hieroglyphs name construction crews like the Friends of Khufu Gang. These weren't foreigners dragged in chains. They were local farmers working seasonally when the Nile floods made fieldwork impossible. Even the straw and mud bricks mentioned in Exodus don't match the pyramids' cut limestone and granite. The Bible's store cities more likely refer to later delta settlements like Pi-Ramesses, built by Ramses the Great centuries after the last pyramid was completed. Then there's the infamous Israel Stele, a victory monument of Pharaoh Merneptah from around 1200 BCE, often misquoted as proof of biblical slavery. It actually boasts of crushing rebellious Canaanites, declaring Israel is laid waste, its seed is no more. This is the earliest known mention of Israel outside the Bible, but it describes them as a nomadic group, not pyramid-building slaves. In fact, not a single Egyptian record from any dynasty mentions Hebrew slaves constructing monuments. The absence is deafening, so how did the myth take root? Blame a mix of mistranslation and Victorian-era assumptions. Early archaeologists steeped in biblical narratives projected Exodus onto the pyramids despite zero evidence. The confusion worsened when the Greek historian Herodotus, who never visited Giza, claimed slaves built the monuments, possibly conflating later Persian-era forced labor with Egypt's Golden Age. Even Jewish scholars like Josephus in the 1st century CE debated whether the pyramids had any connection to Hebrew suffering. The real irony, slavery in ancient Egypt did exist, but it targeted Nubians, Libyans, and other war captives, not Israelites. And their labor typically involved farming or mining, not precision stonework. The pyramids demanded artisans, not shackled masses. By the time Ramses the Great ruled, the pharaoh most often linked to Exodus pyramid building had been dead for a millennium. The truth is, the Exodus story resonates because it's a powerful narrative of liberation, not because it's a construction manual. The pyramids stand as monuments to Egyptian ingenuity, not oppression, a distinction that makes their achievements all the more remarkable. Standing at the summit of the Great Pyramid, it's easy to feel like you're at the center of something much larger because you might be. Scattered across the globe, from the jungles of Cambodia to the highlands of Mexico, lie other ancient monuments that share eerie parallels with Egypt's pyramids. Take Teotihuacan, the city of the gods near modern-day Mexico City. Its Pyramid of the Sun aligns with the Pleiades star cluster during zenith passages, just as the Great Pyramid's shafts target Orion. Angkor Wat, half a world away, mirrors the Draco constellation's shape when viewed from above, a celestial mirroring reminiscent of Giza's alignment with Orion's belt. These aren't just coincidences, they're threads in a tapestry that hints at connections we're only beginning to unravel. Author Graham Hancock has spent decades piecing together these threads, proposing a radical idea. What if these sites weren't built in isolation, but were part of a shared legacy from a lost global civilization? His hypothesis suggests that around 12,000 years ago, an advanced culture flourished before being wiped out by a cataclysmic event, possibly the Younger Dryas impact when comet fragments struck Earth, triggering floods and climate chaos. Survivors, Hancock argues, dispersed worldwide, seeding knowledge among indigenous cultures. The evidence, striking similarities in construction techniques, astronomical alignments, and even mythologies. The pyramids of Giza, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, and the step pyramids of Mesoamerica all feature precise cardinal orientations, sophisticated water management systems, and an obsession with celestial cycles. Even more compelling, flood myths from Egypt to the Maya speak of a great deluge and gods who brought civilization afterward. Skeptics dismiss these connections as cherry-picking. After all, if you look hard enough, you can find patterns anywhere. Mainstream archaeologists point out that these cultures arose millennia apart, with no evidence of contact. The Maya built their pyramids 2,000 years after Khufu's reign, while Angkor Wat's construction began in the 12th century CE. The similarities, they argue, stem from universal human responses to the environment. Aligning structures with the sun or stars for practical or symbolic reasons isn't proof of a shared origin. And yet, anomalies persist. The pyramid of the sun's base perimeter matches the Great Pyramids within a fraction of a percent. Both Teotihuacan and Giza feature artificial underground tunnels, the former filled with liquid mercury, perhaps symbolizing primordial waters, the latter with mysterious subterranean chambers. Then there's the geodetic puzzle. If you draw a line from the Great Pyramid to Angkor Wat, the distance equals exactly 1/4 of Earth's circumference, a near impossible feat without knowledge of the planet's dimensions. Easter Island's Moai statues, meanwhile, sit at a point that forms an equilateral triangle with Giza and Nazca, home of Peru's enigmatic desert lines. These geometric relationships stretch credulity for chance. Hancock's critics counter that such measurements rely on selective endpoints, shift a site by a few miles, and the perfect alignments collapse. The debate hinges on a fundamental question. Did ancient cultures independently arrive at similar solutions, or were they working from an older, forgotten blueprint? The answer might lie in the ocean. Underwater ruins like Japan's Yonaguni Monument or Cuba's supposed megalithic structures hint at civilizations lost to rising seas. If even a fraction of these sites prove man-made, the pyramid connection grows harder to ignore. Until then, the silent stones of Teotihuacan, Angkor, and Giza keep their secrets, leaving us to wonder whether they're isolated marvels or chapters in a story we've yet to fully read. The Bent Pyramid at Dosha stands as one of Egypt's most bizarre architectural anomalies, a monument that starts with the steep, confident angles of a classic pyramid, only to abruptly shift halfway up, as if the builders suddenly lost their nerve. This jarring change in slope from 54 degrees to a more conservative 43 has fueled debates for centuries. Was this a catastrophic miscalculation or a deliberate pivot by architects racing against time? The answer might lie just a mile away, where Sneferu's next attempt, the Red Pyramid, rises with a flawless 43-degree incline from base to tip. Together, these two structures tell a story of trial, error, and a pharaoh's relentless pursuit of perfection. Cracks radiating through the Bent Pyramid's inner chambers offer the first clue. Geologists studying the stress patterns found that the original steep angle placed unbearable pressure on the limestone core, causing the structure to groan under its own weight. Workers likely noticed shifting stones or audible creaks, a terrifying warning of imminent collapse. In a desperate salvage operation, the architects may have ordered the angle softened mid-construction, sacrificing grandeur for stability. The switch wasn't just aesthetic, it redistributed the pyramid's weight, easing the strain on its foundation. But here's the twist. Recent scans reveal hidden internal buttresses, suggesting the builders anticipated the problem and tried reinforcing the structure before the angle changed. This wasn't panic, it was careful crisis management, yet some researchers argue the bend was always part of the plan. The pyramid's dual slopes mirror the hieroglyph for horizon, symbolizing the sun god Ra's ascent and descent. Sneferu, eager to outshine his predecessors, might have envisioned a revolutionary design blending celestial symbolism with architectural daring. When the risks became clear, he pivoted, but the Red Pyramid's flawless execution proves the lessons weren't lost. Its identical 43-degree slope suggests the bent pyramid served as a full-scale prototype, a daring experiment that shaped the future of pyramid building. The Red Pyramid's smoother profile hides its own secrets. Its core contains pockets of rubble fill, a cost-saving measure absent in the bent pyramid. Had Sneferu's architects mastered stability so thoroughly they could cut corners, or was the Red Pyramid a rushed compromise, its perfection only skin deep? The truth might lie in the desert between them, where unfinished ramps and discarded tools hint at a frenzied race against time. Sneferu, determined to secure his legacy, built 2 pyramids in his lifetime, a feat never repeated. The bent pyramid's awkward silhouette isn't a failure. It's a monument to human ingenuity under pressure, a frozen moment when ambition and reality collided, reshaping history in the process. One of the most baffling gaps in Egypt's ancient records is the absence of any clear documentation about the Great Pyramid's construction. For a society that meticulously chronicled everything from tax collections to temple rituals, the silence surrounding humanity's most massive stone monument is deafening. No papyri detailing the workforce, no royal decrees about the logistics, not even a single hieroglyph inside the pyramid itself boasting of its completion. This isn't just an oversight, it's a historical black hole that begs the question: was the omission accidental or something far more deliberate? The most straightforward explanation points to the fragility of records. Papyrus disintegrates over millennia unless preserved in exceptionally dry conditions, like the desert tombs where administrative documents from Khufu's reign were later found. The Diary of Murrah, a 2,500-year-old papyrus discovered near the Red Sea, proves that at least some records existed. This one details limestone shipments for the pyramid's outer casing. But why haven't more surfaced? Some scholars argue that the pyramid's administrative hub, likely near the Giza Plateau, was situated in the Nile's floodplain, where rising waters would have destroyed any archives. Others suggest the records were deliberately kept mobile, stored on wooden tablets or perishable materials that traveled with overseers and vanished with time. Yet the absence feels too calculated to dismiss as mere bad luck. Consider this: later pharaohs like Unas and Pepi II plastered their pyramids with inscriptions glorifying their reigns. Khufu's contemporaries left behind detailed accounts of quarry expeditions and temple renovations. Why would the grandest project in Egyptian history, one requiring 2 decades of labor and a significant chunk of the kingdom's resources, merit no official chronicle? One provocative theory suggests the pyramid's construction was considered a sacred act, its knowledge reserved for initiates. Ancient texts describe a class of priest architects called the Sons of Khufu, who may have guarded building techniques as divine secrets. Could the methods have been passed down orally, their details never committed to writing to prevent profane eyes from glimpsing the sacred? Then there's the darker possibility: erasure. Khufu's legacy is curiously mixed in later Egyptian lore. The Turin King List, a fragmented papyrus from the New Kingdom, grants him a reign of 23 years but omits any mention of the pyramid. Greek historians like Herodotus cast him as a tyrant who enslaved his people, while the Westcar Papyrus describes him as a ruler obsessed with magic. Did subsequent dynasties, resentful of his extravagance, purge his achievements from the record? Or was the pyramid itself seen as taboo, a project so audacious that later scribes feared referencing it? But perhaps the most tantalizing idea is that the records aren't missing at all, they're hidden. The pyramid's unexplored chambers and shafts, like the mysterious voids detected by muon scans, could hold sealed archives. Ancient Egyptian temples often housed House of Life libraries where sacred texts were stored in underground vaults. If a similar repository exists within or beneath the Great Pyramid, its contents could rewrite history. Until we can peer into these spaces without damaging them, the silence persists not as an absence but as a locked door, daring us to find the key. The lack of documentation isn't just a gap in our knowledge, it's a mirror reflecting our assumptions. We expect ancient cultures to operate as we do, with bureaucratic paper trails and technical manuals. But what if the pyramid's builders viewed their work not as engineering but as theology? The stones themselves may be the only record they intended to leave, a testament carved not in ink but in the language of celestial alignments and perfect geometry. In that light, the silence isn't an oversight, it's the message. Step into the Queen's chamber of the Great Pyramid, clap your hands once, and you'll hear something impossible, an echo that lingers for nearly 11 seconds, bouncing between the walls like a ghostly chorus. This isn't just an architectural quirk, it's a phenomenon that sparked a radical theory. What if the pyramids weren't just tombs but giant resonators engineered to harness the power of sound? Modern experiments reveal that the chamber's dimensions and materials create a resonant frequency close to 430 Hz, a tone that matches the hum of Earth's natural electromagnetic field, and one that's known to induce states of deep meditation. Acoustic engineer John Stewart Reed's experiments in the Queen's chamber uncovered something even stranger. When he played specific frequencies through a speaker, the room didn't just amplify them, it transformed them. Sound waves interacted with the chamber's granite walls, generating harmonic overtones that didn't exist in the original signal. These phantom frequencies fall within the range that modern science associates with cellular repair and pain relief. Ancient Egyptian medical texts describe healing hymns performed in sacred spaces, while the Greek historian Strabo wrote of priests using tonal therapies inside temples. Could the pyramid have been an ancient healing sanctuary where sound vibrations were as vital as medicine? The evidence isn't just auditory. The chamber's granite walls contain quartz crystals, a mineral that vibrates under mechanical stress, a property called piezoelectricity. When sound waves pass through quartz-rich stone, they generate Chinese letter electrical charges, a phenomenon documented in modern studies. This might explain why the pyramid's builders went to extraordinary lengths to import granite from Aswan, 500 miles away. Was it just for durability, or did they understand its vibrational potential? Even the chamber's shape plays a role. Its corbelled ceiling, with layers of stone stepping inward, acts like a sound diffuser, scattering frequencies evenly rather than creating harsh echoes. Then there's the mind-bending discovery made by a team from the University of Munich. Using laser vibrometry, they mapped how the entire pyramid structure responds to external vibrations, like those from distant earthquakes or even human chanting. The data showed that the pyramid doesn't just passively absorb these waves, it selectively amplifies certain frequencies while damping others, behaving like a colossal tuning fork. This aligns with ancient texts describing rituals where priests would strike bronze rods against the pyramid stones, producing tones believed to open portals to the divine. Skeptics argue that any resonance is accidental, a byproduct of precise stonework rather than intentional design. But consider this, the king's chamber with its massive granite sarcophagus resonates at a different frequency, 110 Hz. This exact pitch has been shown in modern labs to suppress activity in the brain's language centers, inducing trance-like states. Coincidence or evidence of a sophisticated understanding of neuroacoustics, encoded in stone millennia before we had the tools to measure it? The most tantalizing clue might lie in the pyramid shafts. Narrow and precisely angled, they're often dismissed as ventilation ducts. But when researchers from the JEDI project sent a robot equipped with ultrasonic sensors into one, they detected standing waves, patterns of vibration that suggest the shafts were designed to act as waveguides, channeling specific frequencies to targeted areas of the structure. Imagine a network of hidden harmonics pulsing through the pyramid like a silent symphony, tuned to frequencies that alter consciousness or even manipulate physical matter. Whether by design or cosmic accident, the pyramids stand as monuments to the power of sound. They challenge us to listen, not just with our ears, but with our bones, our cells, our very understanding of what ancient civilizations might have known about the vibrational fabric of reality. The stones don't just hold echoes, they hold questions, and the answers, when they come, might resonate far beyond the sands of Egypt. Standing atop the Giza Plateau, the arrangement of pyramids, temples, and causeways doesn't just feel intentional, it feels like a language written in stone. The three great pyramids of Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure don't just stand in a row, they mirror the three stars of Orion's belt with astonishing precision. But the celestial map doesn't stop there. The Nile River, which once flowed much closer to the plateau's edge, seems to mirror the Milky Way's meandering path across the night sky. Even the causeways connecting the pyramids to their valley temples align with solstice sunrises and sunsets, as if the entire complex was designed as a colossal astronomical clock. This isn't just architecture, it's a three-dimensional model of the heavens, frozen in limestone and granite. Theories about why this alignment exists range from the spiritual to the scientific. Some researchers argue the plateau functions as a cosmic anchor, tying the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife with the eternal cycles of the stars. The pyramid texts, inscribed centuries later, describe the dead king ascending to join Osiris in the constellation of Orion. If the pyramids mirror Orion's belt, then the Nile as Milky Way becomes the celestial river the pharaoh's soul would navigate. But there's a tantalizing twist. The alignment isn't perfect for Khufu's time. The stars' positions in 2500 BC were slightly offset from the pyramid's layout. However, when you account for Earth's axial precession, the slow wobble that shifts stellar positions over millennia, the match locks into place around 10,500 BC. Is this evidence of a much older blueprint, as some fringe theorists claim, or simply a coincidence magnified by selective interpretation? Then there's the energy grid hypothesis. Modern scans reveal underground water channels crisscrossing the plateau, echoing the ley lines of Earth energy theories. The pyramids sit atop natural limestone aquifers, which some scientists suggest could generate piezoelectric effects when stressed by the monument's weight. Even the spacing between the pyramids follows geometric ratios found in sacred architecture worldwide, from Stonehenge to Angkor Wat. Engineer Christopher Dunn proposes the entire plateau functions as a resonant chamber, with the pyramids acting like tuning forks vibrating in harmony with Earth's frequency. Ancient texts describe the plateau as the house of the gods, a place where the boundary between worlds grew thin. Could the layout have been designed to amplify energies we're only now beginning to measure? The Nile's role in this design is often overlooked. In antiquity, the river lapped at the edge of the plateau, its annual flood symbolizing the primordial waters of creation. The causeways leading from the valley temples to the pyramids may have been flooded during ceremonies, transforming them into shimmering pathways mirroring the Milky Way. Satellite imagery shows lost canals and basins that once turned Giza into an artificial island, a deliberate echo of the mythical mound of creation emerging from chaos. When the sun set during the summer solstice, its reflection would have blazed across these waterways, aligning with the causeways to create a fiery bridge between earth and sky. Yet the most compelling clue might lie in something invisible: sound. Recent studies show the plateau's geology. A dense limestone base layered with softer sediments creates unique acoustic properties. Certain spots between the pyramids generate standing waves where echoes circle endlessly. Ritual chants or drum beats in these zones would have been amplified unnaturally, perhaps mimicking the voices of the gods described in temple inscriptions. The entire layout, then, might be less about physical sightlines and more about vibrational nodes, a network of sacred spots where sound, stone, and stars converge. Whether as a star map, energy generator, or sacred soundscape, the Giza Plateau's design transcends simple tomb building. It suggests a civilization that didn't just observe the cosmos, but sought to replicate its order on Earth, to bend the mundane into the divine. Every aligned stone, every buried waterway whispers the same question. Were the Egyptians architects of stone or conductors of something far greater? The plateau doesn't just hold pyramids, it holds a puzzle where astronomy, geology, and spirituality intersect, waiting for the right key to turn. We stand at the edge of a new era in pyramid exploration, armed with tools the ancient builders could never have imagined: drones mapping every fissure, AI algorithms reconstructing lost chambers from muon scans, and lidar piercing through sand that's piled up for millennia. Projects like Scan Pyramids have already rewritten what we thought we knew, uncovering hidden voids and anomalies that hint at undiscovered spaces. Yet for every technological leap forward, there's a counterweight of resistance: the delicate politics of preservation, the fear of damaging irreplaceable relics, and the sobering reality that some secrets might be lost to time no matter how advanced our gadgets become. Take the tantalizing muon tomography scans from 2017. These cosmic ray detectors revealed voids deep within the Great Pyramid, spaces large enough to hold entire chambers. But Egypt's antiquities authorities have hesitated to drill even the tiniest exploratory holes. The reasoning is sound. Invasive methods risk destabilizing delicate stonework or exposing hidden passages to humidity and decay. Yet the irony is thick. We can see the voids, but we can't touch them, leaving us trapped in a paradox of knowing just enough to crave answers but not enough to act. Meanwhile, AI is quietly revolutionizing the search, analyzing thousands of satellite images to pinpoint potential excavation sites near Giza's periphery, where lesser-known pyramids or worker settlements might lie buried beneath suburban Cairo. But technology alone can't dissolve the human hurdles. Excavation permits hinge on bureaucratic labyrinths, and funding often prioritizes safer, more predictable digs over high-risk, high-reward pyramid projects. Even when breakthroughs occur, like the thermal anomalies detected near Khufu's pyramid in 2015, hinting at hidden corridors, the findings are often met with cautious skepticism. Some scholars argue we're too quick to chase mysteries at the expense of mundane but vital research, like cataloging fragments in museum basements that could rewrite trade routes or construction timelines. Yet hope glimmers on the horizon. The next phase of Scan Pyramids plans to deploy even more sensitive muon detectors, while startups are testing nano-drones capable of slipping through cracks no wider than a coin. There's talk of using quantum sensors to map subterranean water channels, the very veins that might have guided the pyramid's celestial alignments. And in university labs, researchers are training AI to decode hieroglyphic patterns we've overlooked for centuries, searching for hidden meanings in the spacing of symbols or the angles of chisel marks. The ultimate question isn't just can we solve these mysteries, but should we? Every time we peel back a layer, we risk altering the very thing we seek to understand. Perhaps the pyramids were meant to guard their secrets, their riddles woven into the stones as deliberately as their alignments to the stars. Or maybe the real revelation lies in the pursuit itself, in realizing that after 4,000 years, these monuments still refuse to be fully known, reminding us that wonder is the point, not just answers. The future of pyramid exploration isn't just about better tools, it's about balancing our hunger for discovery with the humility to let some enigmas endure. After centuries of study, the pyramids still stand as silent witnesses to a past we've only begun to unravel. We've traced their alignments to the stars, marveled at their impossible precision, and even glimpsed hidden chambers through cosmic rays. Yet the deeper we dig, the more questions we unearth. How did a civilization without modern tools level a 13-acre base to within the width of a finger? Why do the shafts inside the Great Pyramid point to stars critical to Egyptian cosmology? And what or who lies behind the mysterious voids detected deep within its core? These aren't just gaps in history, they're doorways to possibilities that challenge everything we think we know. Perhaps the most humbling truth is this: the pyramids refuse to fit neatly into any single narrative. They're tombs but without mummies, they're temples but without inscriptions. They're machines but without gears. Every theory, whether it's advanced ancient technology, lost celestial knowledge, or simply the sweat of 20,000 workers, runs aground on some stubborn inconsistency. Even the so-called experts can't agree. Archaeologists clash with engineers, historians debate astronomers, and every new discovery fans the flames without settling the arguments. So where does that leave us? Not with answers, but with something far more valuable: wonder. The pyramids remind us that history isn't a solved puzzle, it's a conversation, one that's still unfolding. Maybe that's why they captivate us, not because they're relics, but because they're alive with mystery, daring us to look closer and rethink what's possible. Now it's your turn. What's your theory? Did Khufu's architects possess lost knowledge? Could those hidden chambers hold scrolls that rewrite history? Or is the truth still buried, waiting for the next generation of explorers? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going. And if you're hungry for more enigmas, hit subscribe. From lost cities to unexplained artifacts, we're just getting started. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the pyramids in twilight gold, one thing's certain: these ancient giants aren't done with us yet. The secrets they guard aren't just about the past, they're about the limits of human ingenuity and the stories we've yet to tell. So keep questioning. Keep exploring, because the greatest mysteries are the ones that keep us